Okay, welcome everyone to the Public Safety Committee meeting. I would like to call the meeting to order at 4 p.m. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
I'm okay. Oh.
Carlos Barrientos,
Here.
Kirsten Collins,
Present.
Larry Briggs,
Here.
Michael Schilling,
Here.
David Shane.
Here.
Great. Next on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Does anyone have changes that they would like to make to the minutes?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say A.
A.
Aye.
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 And any opposed, say no. Okay, the motion has passed unanimously. All right. And next up on the agenda is the city manager's update. So I'll turn it over to Emily.
Thank you. So just one quick update for everybody. We did an RFP for design work on the new police station. Got 3 proposals submitted. We had 6 people look through and score them based on the criteria in the RFP, and Mackenzie was everyone's #1 pick. So I am working now with Jeff Humphreys at Mackenzie to finalize the contract and kind of the scope of work. And hopefully we will get that signed yet this week so that we can get working on that starting July 1st.
Is
that formerly Group McKinsey out of Eugene?
Mackenzie is out of Portland.
Portland, okay.
This is for the design?
This is for the design work, and then kind of a little bit of help with community meetings and stuff, getting ready for a bond next spring.
Is that to include engineering as well? Electrical and HVAC, or just architectural?
No, it's just kind of preliminary design work. I think 30% plans, just to have some drawings so that we can go out to bid or to publicize for a bond.
So roughly 50 grand? What was it?
So their proposal was 169,000, but it included work that we didn't request. And so that's where we're working on kind of refining that scope so that we can get a final number.
Refining it downwards, I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when this is complete and we've got the finished design, will that help us materially in deciding what the cost is going to look like?
Yes, this will include the cost estimate.
So we'll have a better idea of what to go out for after we've seen the design.
Right.
Okay.
Will the police chief and staff, if I say staff, does that include everybody who works for the police? Okay, so police chief and all of staff, will they be able to weigh in?
Yes.
Excellent.
Their plan included public outreach, a couple of public outreach meetings, definitely meetings with the department to kind of fine tune what the needs are.
Yeah, well, it's really important that we make sure we hit our budget, right? That's a big number. Everybody's eyebrows changed when that number was spoken. It is also important that we meet the needs of the police before we kind of go out to the community. Yeah, we don't want to go out to the community and meet the needs of the community and not meet the needs of the entire staff.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And to meet the needs of staff for a number of years going forward. We don't want to build a facility and then, 5 years down the road go, oops, it should have been bigger or we should have had more. Yeah.
Are we going with the design that has entrances on both the front and the back? Remember, we looked at some proposed ideas a while back.
Right now,
Go ahead.
right now they haven't finalized which model, but one of the models that was preferred going into it was the one where it sets kind of like that and it does now, and there's an opening on the front and to the back.
That's the one I'm thinking of.
That's the preference right now, but that's part of what they're going to be doing is fine tuning those very conceptual 30,000 foot views against the start with.
I don't directly have a dog in the fight, but I'd really like to see more than one way in and out. Yeah.
I think it would be really important when we get there that we make sure that as we're preparing for community outreach, as we're preparing for those meetings and for publicity, is that everybody understands why, right? Like maybe you understand why 2 entrances is important and why paying for 2 ways in and out.
Well,
is
that's the kind of thing you want to do education about. That's an
Yeah.
example.
and the parking lot and where the armory is going to be and storing evidence and.
And if I may, one other thing, McKinsey is a firm that specializes in public safety and a lot of police, but they also have a history, and one of the reasons I think they scored high, they have a history of building stations similar to our size and in smaller areas, smaller footprints, so they're good at doing that, but also in working with the individual agencies and saying, okay, we know this is important to police, but how important is it to you, and working with us on that. And then marketing that, helping us market that to the community and justify why.
Well, the front and back entrances are just one example, but everybody in this room knows that getting that bond approved is going to be an uphill fight. So we've got to have good explanations of why each of those features is important, what it'll do for everybody.
We're a community that is pretty vocal that we back the blue. I mean, we're a community that says that. And I think that we can use that. Is rhetoric always a bad word?
No, not at all.
Okay, I think we can, it feels catabolic to me, but I think we can use that feeling, rhetoric, to say, like, here's the way we can actually do that. Saying I back the blue and flying the flag I back the blue and using those words only means so much if we're not also willing to actually fund it. How many years did you say we want to move forward with this? 50. Oh, I was like 5, 50, okay.
I think if you're spending that kind of money, you need to
Okay.
look that far out.
You're looking at decades when you,
That's,
Yeah.
just like the reservoir.
Yeah,
yeah, same
50
idea.
years.
okay, cool.
Otherwise, it's not money that's well spent.
I mean, it's always money well spent.
Well, it's like buying a tool. You buy a cheap tool, you're going to keep replacing it often. Buy a good one and you won't.
I think it's important that we don't lose sight. Not only is this going to be a police station, but it's going to be a great place for citizens to unite. There's probably going to be a place, an area in there for our citizens in Dallas to have community meetings and gatherings and stuff like that. So not only will it be a police station, but it's going to be an area for citizens too.
It might even have AC versus the Civic Center.
Any other questions?
Because I was in a.
Oh, I thought you were referring to the Olympics.
No, I was.
No, he's talking about HVAC.
I thought that was an Olympics
It
joke.
was kind of, it could be. The awards banquet got a little more money at the time.
Oh,
Any other questions? Next up on the agenda is going to be the fire department update, so I'll turn it over to Chief Wallace.
You have your name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon. Just want to give you a little update on what is happening with my department currently. We're still fully staffed with 16 full-time employees. We do have one that is in backgrounds currently with 2 agencies, but it's looking like he'll probably be picked up by one of our local fire departments here, Kaiser. When talking to this individual, he was looking for advancement opportunities. So it really has nothing to do with him leaving because he's not happy. He just wants the ability to promote and do other positions, which we currently don't have that available. We have 20 flexible schedule employees. We just added 6 more to that. We have 2 that left us for full-time employment elsewhere. We also contracted one to cover one of our full-time people that are out on baby leave, and he will be on contract until the end of August. And then I'll tell you a little bit more and as soon as I get through my report. We're contracting one to help fill a position with some upward advancement that we're doing temporarily. We received a nice little visit from OSHA. It was a surprise inspection. It was a learning experience for everyone. I'd never been a part of an OSHA inspection before, and the person who did the inspection, it was her first inspection by herself, and also the very first inspection that she had of a fire department. We spent all day together, going through all of our PPE, all of our policies and procedures regarding safety. We did identify a couple of areas that needed some significant improvement on our part, which we've already remedied, and are working towards remedying another issue that we had as well. It was for our SCBAs that our firefighters wear. We had a number of them that did not have the respiratory questionnaire completed. Our full-time employees do, our part-time employees did not, and some of our volunteers did not. So this was an issue that we identified, and we immediately took action to rectify that. We have established an account with Salem Occupational Health, which they do it for other fire departments around our area as well. So they already had everything together that we needed. So we have 100% compliance with all of our volunteers and staff for the questionnaire. Now we have to go back and fit test them again, which is making sure we connect them with our air mask that goes to their tank, but it's the mask itself to a fit test machine. It's just to make sure that the mask that they have is properly fitted to their face, and that they're physically able to wear the mask that they're going to be assigned.
Are those masks reusable, or do you have to get a new one for each new staff member?
They're their own personal, we could reuse them. Right now, everybody has a brand new one. If they're damaged, we make sure that they inspect them every time that they're in a fire. If they're damaged, we dispose of them and get them a new one.
Do we
But
provide them, or are they responsible for getting their own?
no, we provide 100% of all of our safety equipment.
And then my
our
last
PPE.
question, ballpark, what does one of those cost? Ballpark.
About $300. But we have a budgeted line item for that specifically. And the unfortunate part is they really don't come in customized sizes. They're literally small, medium, and large.
Probably would cost more if they did.
Maybe, but that wouldn't make a difference. The one thing that does cost a little bit more, but it's not an issue for us, is if we have somebody that has corrective lenses, they can create the mask to have their corrective lens included in that mask as well. So
Yeah, they do that with swimmer's goggles too, if you're willing to pay for it.
What's that?
They do that with swimming goggles too, if you're willing to pay for it, yeah.
Chief, can you tell us how often you're having to replace SCBA masks for someone?
Not very often. The one time that we did need to replace a mask, and it was an incident where it was a fire-related incident where our firefighters were making entry, and as soon as they had opened the front door of the residence that was on fire, they were hit with immediate heat, and they got knocked down. But then afterwards, once we did an inspection on all their gear, which is something that we do every time that they are on a fire, the gear is inspected: helmet, mask, gloves, jacket, pants, boots. The mask had some spidering in it, which was good for our other folks to see that what the damage would look like, but then to understand what caused that. And it was a significant amount of heat that they were met with. But that's not typical. If a building is too hot for us to be in, if you can feel it,
You don't go in.
they do what they can to mitigate it from the outside, as long as we don't have to make a rescue.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Chief,
So I'm
Chief,
still.
I had a question. Did
Yes.
they, having the experience in owning my own business of a OSHA-oscopy myself,
Oscar.
they offered, after they came in on a surprise visit like they did with you, they told me that they do offer a consult. If you call them, they'll walk you through, and there's no penalties involved if there's any violations.
Correct.
Do you ever take advantage of that? Or?
Well, so here is what was really a little disheartening for me. So we did receive one of those notices about 3 weeks prior to this visit.
That's a trigger that you're going to get on.
And I was talking to our deputy chief and I said, we probably need to get going on this. And that we just didn't have the opportunity to call. But yeah, we had received one. It was about 2 to 3 weeks prior to this individual showing up. I can tell you the one thing that you don't do is you don't ask them if they can come back. She didn't find it funny. So anyway. But like I said, the things that we have that were known issues, we've already worked at mitigating those. I'm waiting for a follow-up. She was waiting for me to get back from vacation to do a follow-up visit. And I know has more questions just because this was her first time through a fire department and her own inspection. So I'm still
Chief, I
waiting to hear back
have
from her.
questions about ODOT. First of all, I would like to say maybe we don't treat this as an adversarial relationship. I don't detect that we're treating it that way, but, you know, I doubt anytime when OSHA comes out, they're not going to not find something. Their job is to, you know, make sure you're in kind of, like everything's working in a proper order and give you a heads up. So keeping that in mind, can you tell me how many violations there were, if they were all remedied, and if any fines were assessed?
Well, and I can appreciate where you're coming from as far as the adversarial part, because I fully understand that she has her job to do, and we were nothing but compliant and cooperative. And I understand that their first and foremost is safety, which I completely respect. As far as the violations go, no. The only reason I am even aware of the two that I felt were the major ones was because she immediately identified that as an issue. I'm still waiting for a follow-up contact with her. Our case is still listed as being open. She wanted to wait until I returned from vacation to sit down and go through everything with me individually. But as soon as I have that information, I will report back.
And I would probably venture to say these are typical violations that you would probably find throughout this whole state, throughout all the towns and counties. And she's just helping you to, you know, pinpoint those out.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I'm pretty proud of my department and how we really do focus on safety of our personnel, not only with their PPE, but with them physically too.
Well, if those are the only two significant findings, I'd say you're doing one hell of a job keeping people safe, if that's the best you could come up with.
Well, and I don't know yet, so it's still an open investigation. So as soon as her and I sit down, I'll find out what other deficiencies we have, and we'll work towards remedying them. These were the ones that were immediate that needed to be fixed, like right now. In fact, we took it to the point where we explained to our staff that there will be consequences as far as them not having this questionnaire completed. One of them was discipline for our paid staff. And then the other for our volunteer staff was actually pulling their PPE to where they would not be able to respond to a call until this was completed.
And I have to second what you said about keeping the relationship collegial, because after all, the bottom line, the purpose of this whole exercise is to keep your people safe.
Right, and I can't imagine that her job is easy. Because
No, she must encounter a lot of hostility.
I imagine, and I felt kind of bad because I have jokingly asked her if she could come back, and she didn't find it very funny. So, but her and I spent the entire day together. She was very eager to learn about our organization, and I think, in my opinion, I think it was a good starting point for her as far as fire departments go. All of the staff that was on that day was very helpful, walked her through every step that we would do for safety checks and that kind of thing. So I think as far as that part of it goes, I think it went well. And she also interviewed 5 of my staff members and 2 volunteers. And I think that went well too. So.
Can I follow up on Councilor Briggs's question? So they do offer the
It's a
when you
pre-inspection.
ask, and then does it carry the same as in the public sector where you get a 6-month reprieve from surprise inspections?
I'm hoping that this will get us a little bit more
Well,
time.
no, the voluntary ones usually
Right.
carry, they won't enforce penalties at the time, also carry with it. It's really good to ask for inspections because then you're covered for another 6 months. It gives you 6 months for sure to get everything
Right,
in order.
right.
And they appreciate you asking them in.
Yeah, it was a really, I learned a lot. And I learned some things that we definitely could do better. And then it was very reassuring the things that we're currently doing. So,
And you learned an important lesson
right?
about not asking.
Yeah,
Come
don't
back
ask.
later.
I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask. The worst she's gonna say is no, right?
Yeah,
So-
that's just not the one question.
Yeah, she did find it funny.
Because you can tell them to leave and get a warrant,
And
but then they get really upset.
yeah, and that would have been completely inappropriate. It was just the day that she showed up, we had a lot of different things going, and so thankfully I was able to reschedule most of my day, so it went fine. Okay, so back on topic. So we sent 2 of our firefighters along with our brush truck down to Jackson County on Friday morning for a pre-deployment. What that means is that there was a fire that was in the Applegate Upper Trail area, and in that Jackson County area, and they were waiting for it to either get bigger or get smaller, and it sounds like they were able to get containment of
There's a
that.
wildfire.
Yes. So it's very early in the season, so it's a little
Not as
Just-
dry as it's going to be.
discerning.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had late rain in May, which was not helpful. So they are back. They came back. They were back right around noon today. So our new engine will be at the city shops tomorrow.
Oh, can we back up and just make it clear that when you go through the financials of that we don't pay for that?
We do not pay for
Clarify
that. That is a reimbursement when we're asked to go as part of a larger group. OSFM is the one that enacts that, Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office. They're the ones that declare when they need us to respond, and we have a mutual aid agreement with them that we will do that if we're available to do that. But we do get reimbursement from the state for any type of call outs that we do. We get reimbursement for the personnel, plus we get reimbursement for the vehicle.
Do you feel the State Farm Marshal's being a little more proactive now than in the past?
No, I think they've always done a really nice job. The nice thing is that some of the smaller communities have been awarded grants for staffing. We're fortunate enough to have a very decent staffing model, but there are other communities that rely exclusively on volunteers. So with the staffing grant that OSFM allows them to apply for summer months, I think that has been a really good asset, and that's, I think, going into the 4th year for that. We unfortunately did not receive that this year, but my thought behind that is there's communities that probably need that help more than we do. So,
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that was
Yeah.
on the record. Nobody thinks
So,
our personnel just got sent someplace else.
oh no,
so the direct cost of the personnel are reimbursed.
Correct.
Do we incur any additional cost to backfill for those, overtime or?
that's also reimbursed.
It is also, okay,
Yes.
that's nice.
Yeah, so any time that we have to backfill or mandatory somebody to come into work, those wages are also covered.
Okay,
They don't want
them.
to create a financial issue for those departments.
Now that you're onto the engine, you say it's going to the shops tomorrow?
It'll be, so Josh Rogers and Kent McKnight will be headed to Hillsborough tomorrow afternoon to go pick it up. It'll be there for a little bit of time. We're working on getting comms added to it, and then we need to do a few extra things with the compartments, so. And then once it gets up here, we'll have a little ceremony for
So
it.
how long do you think before it's in service? A few weeks?
No, it'll probably be a month, just because we want to make sure that everybody has been trained on it appropriately. And we've worked out any issues that we have with it. So our plan is to have mandatory training on the new engine and put it in service once everybody feels like it's proficient enough.
Be nice when it's online.
It will be very nice.
Really will help.
And with that, thank you for the reallocation for the ARPA funds, because on the 6th or the 14th of June, we ordered our new ambulance. This ambulance is specifically going to be for transfers, and the timing was actually pretty good because we're looking at replacing the 2003 that we currently have, which had to be towed right after we ordered this ambulance. So it's 20 years old, it's got quite a few miles on it, but it's thank you to our fleet maintenance because they were able to get it back in service. So currently it's at our station, but it's in reserve status. So it's not going to be in active service for right now. We won't expect to see that ambulance until summer of 2025. As you know, we went out for a training officer position, deputy chief of training and recruitment and retention. Although we had some very some very good candidates for the process. The unfortunate part is just not exactly what we were looking for. The person that we were looking for in this position, we needed to have a little bit more tenure, a little bit more supervisory role type experience. I'm not saying that these individuals did not have that, but I think in time they'll probably be excellent candidates.
You just want somebody with more time and grade.
Yeah. And so what we decided is one of our internal captains, Brian Nordyke, we approached him and asked if he would be willing to at least take the position for a month. We'll evaluate it in a month and see how that works. I think part of it, just doing that month duration, is for him to get acclimated just due to his family and shift change and that kind of thing. But ultimately, we would like to do a 3-month stint just to get an overview of how that position's working. So with his position moving up, we are moving one of our firefighter paramedics, Seth Bellerts, into an acting capacity captain position. And then to backfill his spot, one of our flexible schedule employees, who's also a firefighter paramedic, will be taking that firefighter paramedic slot. So we've kind of moved everybody up a little bit. So, and in a month, we'll evaluate it, and then we'll evaluate it again in 3 months. And then
Is that position, the training captain position, whatever it is,
division chief.
is that a 9 to 5 position?
It'll be a weekday position.
A weekday.
Our plan is once we have our recruit candidates for the academy, we'll adjust that schedule so it'll be included in that role as well. So they would be here for Saturdays and Saturday or Sunday, whatever day we're going to be doing training, because that kind of seems to be the part where we're a little deficient on being able to provide personnel this year. For the first time, we offered overtime opportunities for our full-time and part-time employees to be able to come in and do the training in the Recruit Academy. I'm happy to say that all 4 candidates that went through are still with us and have earned their Firefighter 1 and are working towards their 1-year completion. So it's been a really good opportunity. And then
That is a change for the family.
It is a big change going from shift work to
Well, you would know that, wouldn't
a
you?
Monday to
Yeah.
Friday.
It's a huge-
Yeah. So, and that's why we're giving it that 1 month period to see how that works with his schedule. The good thing about myself and Chief Rogers's philosophy is if we just don't have the right fit, it's okay to not hire from that pool. It takes a unique person to blend into an organization. And so we were looking for somebody specific, and not saying that these candidates were not great candidates, they just were not the right fit for us right now.
Back when I was working for a living, I learned early on, because I was in management, and I was both chief and an Indian at different times. And very early in my career, somebody told me something that was invaluable. He said, whenever I'm in an interview, regardless of which side of the desk I'm on, I spend the first 5 minutes figuring out whether I'm compatible with the other person. Because if I'm not, there's no point in going any further.
Right. And that's okay.
Yeah. Because you're looking at a long-term relationship, it's got to work.
Exactly. And just to end, just to let you know, today, as of about 2 hours ago, we were at 26 35, so 2,635 calls for service. So we're looking at potentially, and we're not even halfway through the year yet, so we're looking at potentially 6,000 calls for service this year.
Can you say that number again?
2,635,
And does that include EMS and fire together?
yes.
That's
I
everything.
mean, not okay, but that's a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot, and that's everything. Yes.
Chief, one question. Do you anticipate having more people working for the 4th of July holiday, or do you go with a normal shift?
We would just go with a normal shift. We do encourage our volunteers. We cannot assign our volunteers shifts. They have to come and tell us what they're going to work. Because the minute we put them on a shift, or I tell them what to work, now they're our employee. So we are going to encourage them to work through the 4th of July weekend. 4th of July is on Thursday. I anticipate activities going through the entire weekend. So we do take care of our volunteers. So anytime that we do have them come down, we usually provide lunch, snacks, that kind of thing. Have them bring their families, just because we want them to be able to respond, so.
I think this might not have been on your watch, but how was 4th of July last year?
4th of July was fine. It was the 5th that was terrible.
I really meant, how was the weekend?
Yeah. I don't really recall. Unfortunately, I was on vacation, and came off of vacation on the day of the 5th. And as you recall, one of those fires was due to an unattended, burn on a back patio. And then the other one was caused by, illegal fireworks, but not by the occupant of the burned house.
I mean, statistics are pretty clear nationally, not in Oregon or Dallas, but illegal fireworks aren't going to set your own house on fire.
Right.
They're going to set someone else's
Right.
property on fire.
And I can tell you, we responded to a lot more smaller fires after 4th of July. And some of them were not caused by fireworks. Some of them were caused by improper disposal of burning material, cigarettes and the bark dust, that kind of thing. I would have to say that as far as our call volume, it's probably minimal compared to what the police department responds to.
It was many years ago, but I looked out my front door one day, and across the street, my neighbor's trash can, which was by the curb, was burning and melting plastic, burning and melting because they'd put coals in there without making sure they were really out.
It happens.
We've already seen several landscape fires this year, have we not?
We have. And it's been due to improper disposal of burning materials. So.
Except for one.
Huh?
Except for one spontaneous combustion.
That does happen as well too. So.
While we're talking about fireworks, can we get an update? Hold on, I'm dying. Can we get an update on what the city is doing for education around fireworks?
I don't know the answer to that. Brian's kind of handled that with Allison. I do know that we have done some outreach on social media, in the newsletter, and I'll check in with Allison again this week to make sure that she's continuing to push that.
I believe she has a link and dedicated page on our web page itself.
Okay.
Maybe that's what I saw. Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
job. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next up on the agenda is Police Department update. I'll turn it over to Chief Simpson.
Alrighty. All right, Mr. Chairman, committee members, glad to be here. Just a little bit of an update for us here. To answer that question here, I'll kind of get off script here just for a bit. Allison I've been working with Allison to get a social media post out about fireworks safety, supposedly last week and this week redundantly, and then through the other venues as well. Apparently, I learned today when I couldn't find it that Facebook took our post down, and we were trying to figure out why. And as she dug into it, they took our post down because AI picked up that it talked about explosives, therefore it was inappropriate for their community standards. So we had to go back in and explain to a real human what we were doing and why, and it's back up. So it was an interesting world of AI that we live in now. So yeah, we were doing bad stuff, so they took it down because we didn't meet their community standards. So it's back up. We're going to run it again next week, and then she'll spread it out. So answer that part.
Are they doing anything to make sure that AI doesn't grab it again the next time you put it up?
You know, who knows? We talked to a person that said that they understand now, but
You may have to have that conversation
yeah,
again.
I'm not going to sit here and guarantee that that's the case because I just don't know.
Chief, is that something we could also post on our city website?
Yes,
Have it
it's on the
redone?
city website. I mean, it's just a little blip, talks about safety, and it's got the fire and police patch on it, and just talk about it. And it can go on our newsletter, it can go in the city webpage, it can go on the fire site, on our site. We can share it on all the city social media to push it out there, so. Let's see, staffing, we have one vacancy at this moment, and I have one lateral candidate from the state of Tennessee that is finishing up backgrounds now. I should have that background report in the mail tomorrow, I'm told. And if everything continues looking the way it is, we'll move him into medical, physical, and the psych. And if that all goes well, then we'll have him on board here before long. And I hesitate to say this, but that would make us fully staffed. We'll
Is
see
he
how it
still in
goes.
Tennessee or has he relocated already?
Sorry?
Is he still in Tennessee or is he relocated already?
You said it way
He
too
is,
loud.
live on the edge, Emily. He was a corporal with the Oregon Department of Corrections and left and went to family in Tennessee, some friend family in Tennessee, and worked for a jail there for a while. Got interested in the law enforcement side, went to work for the city police where the county seat where the jail was. And he's got about 2 years of police experience under his belt. So he's not very experienced.
He's not a total cold rookie either.
He's a rookie, but he checks a box. I don't have to send him to the academy for 16 weeks. So he's already been through an academy. So he'll come here and we'll make sure everything, get him up to speed. We'll pretty much treat him like a rookie because he is. But he'll only have to go through a 2-week course in Oregon. It's called the COD course, Career Officer Development. And basically it takes an officer from another state, gets them up to speed on state law and things that are relevant here.
And that's at DPSST or here?
Yes. Well, actually, it's online now.
Okay.
When I come here from Florida 30 some odd years ago, I had to go through it, and basically it was 2 weeks over there, and it was all about criminal law, firearms, and driving. And now they've mashed it into an online course that they can take it, and it gives us a little more flexibility on the timing, and we don't have to lose them that way.
Awesome.
So it works out good. So hopefully everything will go well with him and move forward. The recruit that we hired before him, Andrew McDonald, whom I haven't introduced to council yet because he was at the academy pretty quick. He graduated from DPSST this past Friday, so he's diving into his 16 weeks of field training now. And I'm going to try to get him in at the council meeting in July, and if not, maybe August, to get him in here and just do an introduction for you guys. So he's a sharp troop. He took his final at the academy on his 36th birthday, I think. And no, he's not, a little bit younger, but anyway, he got a 94 some odd % on his birthday, so he was pretty stoked about that. So let's see, what else we got here? Fleet-wise, we are, now that our budget has been adopted, we're gonna be trying to get a vehicle ordered because it takes forever to get one in now. At this point, they won't give us pricing sheets, so we don't know whether it'll be a Chevy or a Dodge or what, but we'll wait as soon as they come down with the pricing, we'll take a look at it and go forward. We've had some trouble with the Dodges. Frankly, we've had, our 22 has been in and out of the shops at least 6 times now for fuel pump problems, and believe it or not, they keep putting the same fuel pump on there and it reoccurs. Who knew? And then one of our 23 models has now started having that same problem. What it boils down to is when the officer jumps in it to start it, it won't.
Those are both Dodges?
Yeah. And we have 3 Dodges now, 2 23s and a 22. And frankly, I'm gonna look closely at the Chevy Tahoes. But last year, I mean, a couple years ago, there wasn't much price different. Last year, there was $9,500 between the two, and that's just ridiculous. So it may end up, if the pricing is better, it may end up that I pay a little bit more than I did for a Dodge. But
Yeah, but if it's not down,
We need to be
Yeah.
able to rely on them, and that first 22 has been down for, I mean, it goes to the Dodge dealership and they keep it for 2 or 3 weeks, and this has happened 5 or 6 times now. So we've been
that's a
talking to
real-
Dodge.
yeah,
trying
that's
to
a real cost.
It impacts us, and frankly, I want my officers to be able to start their car when they need to.
No
And
kidding.
if something bad's happening, they need to be able to make that car work, so we'll see, and I'm optimistic, supposedly Chevy's gonna be offering some incentives, or GM might be, which would make it less expensive, or less cost difference, so.
We totally dumped the Ford concept, or
What's that?
have we just not want to look at the Fords anymore?
The Fords have been problematic. They've had an ongoing problem with their seats. Our guys just, they used to be better than they are, but when we got that last one, the 20, the seats are a lot more uncomfortable. They don't seem to be padded well, and their fuel tanks are small, and especially when OSP was using them, you're filling up all the daggone time because they don't have a large fuel tank on them. Ford is in some opinions has gone downhill in their police product. The Crown Vic that was the landmark flagship for years and years and years, they just aren't doing that anymore. So I'm personally not a Dodge fan, so I took a shot at Dodges begrudgingly because we had so much grumbling about the Fords. But
What would the Chevy look like, an Equinox or?
it would be like when the Tahoe's over, you'll see.
Oh,
it.
a Tahoe.
Yeah, they're Tahoes.
All right.
And they've got and just for all of the, I started to say junk, that would be bad. All the stuff that we have to have in our cars now, it's just wrapped around you. And if you've done any ride-alongs, you've seen what it's like. The Tahoes are a little roomier platform too, and if you have to live in these things for 12 hours a day, it's a more comfortable office to work out of, but I just have a hard time paying a whole bunch more for them. So some agencies have done it and some have steered away from it because it got really expensive last year. But, and I like to have cars that match, so it drives me nuts if we have to change again, but I want cars that work. So we'll cross that bridge when we get closer.
And Polk County's happy.
Polk County, they have them.
Well, that's something, they're happy with their product.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And strangely enough, they were happy with their Dodges when we asked
Yeah,
them
they
to.
were.
And actually, the Dodges were so much of an improvement over the Ford, they loved them, but I guess they hadn't started having the trouble. I don't know if they're having the same trouble we are, but I know that one of the times that I helped our guys take them up to the Dodge dealership, there was 3 Dodges from different agencies sitting in the parking lot waiting to get worked on, just like ours. So it's not just an isolated problem, it's a big thing that they can't seem to figure out.
Are we going with the white paint job on all new vehicles
I'm gonna
now?
stay with white.
Good.
White's always white, and the manufacturers change their color shades from time to time. And I remember when I first came here, we had 4 or 5 cars of 4 or 5 different shades of dark blue, and it just kind of drives me nuts. They don't match better. So silver was good for a long time, but then you'll notice some very dark silver OSP Tahoes around, and they quit making that bright silver again.
Well,
So-
there's two schools of thought. You want your police vehicles to be visible or invisible. I like them to be visible, and white is much better.
Yeah, I've read up on studies that show that the brighter your vehicle is, the more receptive you seem to the public. And white's always gonna be white, and they just are received well. I don't personally subscribe to the subdued graphics. Some like it, but I just don't like to look like we're trying to sneak up on people. That's not the purpose of what we're doing. They're supposed to be highly visible deterrents, and you want people to see it. So the white's been working well for that. So
You are
as
preaching to the choir.
long as I'm here, I'll be sticking with white for the next year.
I have a question. So Chief Wallace helped us kind of understand the benefit of getting a floor model. I'm not quite sure what. Demo, thank you, not a floor model. Is that possible with a police vehicle?
They are usually not. The last one they bought, the last 23 that we bought was just that sort of an AZ. We had ordered a 23 and we were going to be ordering a 24. And the rep that we work with at the dealership called us up. Someone else had ordered one white, which was very similar to the way we had them built, and they decided not to take it. So we took that one. It wasn't a floor model, but it was one that somebody else ordered and didn't take. But they don't build them and typically set them up, you know.
But it's
some-
not something we can plan on or plan for, so, okay.
No.
All right.
On a rare occasion, you'll have an upfitter, like the people that take our new cars and build them. They will buy one and build it and take it around for shows for a while and then ultimately get rid of it. But they're often, black is the fad right now, so they're often not the color we're looking for. I'm totally not opposed to it if we run up on one, so those cars aren't getting
But it's
cheaper.
not something we can plan on.
No, I wouldn't. It would be a rare opportunity.
Chief, I just wanted to weigh in on something. It's really a small matter, this color about a vehicle. State police, they went to a silver type of vehicle. The only reason was it's the factory-made color that comes in. And really what they ended up doing was saving a lot of money. So whether you go with the silver, there's a good financial savings in going with that as opposed with a really nice blue or whatever white, so maybe something to think about.
You're right, though. The nicer the colors are, they're often considered premium colors, and they cost a little bit more. And for us buying one car a year, it's not a huge expense, but frankly, they don't always offer that premium color down the road. So white is pretty daggone basic.
You're always gonna be able to get white.
White's almost always the same white. So, yeah, and I know the savings they got when they moved away from the blue car. I really like the blue with the yellow stripe graphics, but when they moved to the silver, I didn't like it as much, but there was a significant saving, especially in an agency where you buy so daggone many cars. So, yeah, you're right there. Any other questions on fleet? So, now that our budget has been adopted, I'll order it the first minute that they say we've got a price sheet, but, we may wait until July, August, September, we don't know. And when we talk to the representatives, they tell us, I don't know, whenever it comes out, we'll let you know. It's getting better, they say, so we'll see.
Chief, do we ever look at the statewide price agreement that the state has that we can hop on and
Oh, we use state pricing.
we use that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
we just haven't
Yeah,
published it.
and the dealerships that we deal with, they all give us under the state bid price.
Okay.
So we get the state price, it's just a matter of which one. And like I said, that Tahoe, even at state bid, it was $9,500 last year more than a Dodge, so.
Yeah, but if it runs,
Well, it's a whole lot easier too. We deal with state bid, we don't have to jump through so many hoops.
How many years do they last?
I'm sorry?
How many years do they last typically?
well, miles, how many miles?
No, I want
varies.
years.
I've got, right now, I'm driving a '09 that has 127,000 miles on it. I've gotten most of I'd have to look. I just asked for a mileage update earlier this morning. Most of our cars with over 100,000 are off patrol now. We use them for detectives or admin or whatever. The patrol cars, we have, like our traffic safety officer, I'm gonna get that position up and running here. I've got 2 applicants, we'll be interviewing them here in a week or so and have that program running pretty soon. But I'll be putting that person in a 2014 vehicle, and it has, I believe, 92,000 on it. So it's, the miles are up, but for the primary patrol cars, we don't time them out at mileage, just, Kent would like for us to down at the shops. He wants to get rid of them at a certain mileage, but we just can't afford to do that. So he takes really good care of them, but as long as we get them off our primary patrol positions, it's not as concerned. That's why, a couple of years ago, I took my 17 model that had 18,000 miles on it, and when we couldn't order cars before, and I put that on patrol, put graphics on it, and I took one of the '09 Tahoes, because it doesn't matter so much if mine has high mileage for training and traffic, or, driving to work and stuff like that. So I've got actually probably at our next public safety meeting, I can give you an update on fleet that'll have the mileages, because I just asked for an update on that today. And then hopefully we'll have an idea of when the new car's coming in, because that'll go to patrol as well. So we keep the newest one and the best ones on the road where there's a most high potential for pursuit driving, which we don't have a lot here, but sometimes we do. And make sure that the older ones are still safe to drive, but not used so much for that high-risk use. Okay, let's see. Our cadet program, we're still working on that. Jim Welsh is coming out of the schools. He's going to be working day shift patrol and working with us some more on that. We're in the process right now, we're getting the equipment list together so that right after the first of the year, I can order some basic equipment, little duty belts and stuff for our cadets, and get that program running. I've got a policy draft together. We'll get that finished up, so I'd like to get that up and running as soon as we can, because we got, I think he said 5 or 6 kids that are really interested in it. So if we can get that up, that'll be an asset, I think, for the kids, for us, and the community in general, so.
By beginning of the year, do you mean 2026 or do you mean school year?
But I'd like to get it up and running before the school year.
Oh, cool.
Sometime, hopefully this summer, I'd like to get it up and running. So when school year starts, the school's been working with Jim and getting it set up so the kids will get school credit for doing their cadet time with us. And he's also going to be doing some instruction over at the school in their CTE program for law enforcement for those kids that are interested. So he's doing a nice job of blending that together. So I would hope to have it up and running before the end of August, before school starts. And unless we run into some odd obstacles, we should get there, hopefully. Accreditation, I am thrilled to announce that I think we are done with the initial accreditation process. We had our on-site assessment this past Tuesday. Everything went well. He told us to start with, he'd probably be with us for about 3 hours going over stuff, and he was out within an hour. Spent some time in our evidence room, didn't notice any concerns down there, basically told us verbally that everything looked good. He has a report to submit to the executive director of the Northwest Accreditation Alliance, who will look everything over and then put it up for a vote to the board. But he should call me and let me know when that happens, so I should know. Well, I'll know when it happens anyway, I'm on the board, but he will call me and let me know when it's going to go to the next board meeting, so at least I'll know that we haven't run across any issues. If there was some kind of discrepancy, they give us an opportunity to fix it if we can do it fairly quickly, but according to what the assessor said, we should be good. So that means that sometime within the next few weeks, we could be getting awarded our initial state accreditation. And then at the next Chiefs Association meeting in April, it would actually officially award that to us as an agency. And so
that board vote is the final hurdle.
was that was the final hurdle. We've done everything we can do right now. The 2 things are going to happen. They're going to call us up and say, hey, we've got a couple of things we need to fix, which I don't believe, because the assessors didn't say there was anything there, and I've known him for like 30 years, so he probably would tell me. And the other thing is they'll award us our accreditation. So we're, knock on wood, but we're getting very close to that. So it's something we've been working on. Actually, we started it back in about 2010-ish and had to stop because of staffing reasons. And we picked it up again when we had one of our staff on light duty for a number of months and got a lot of it done. And then finally Colby picked it up and took us across the finish line these last several months. So
It'd be good to have.
hopefully we're there, and there's a variety of reasons, but more than anything, it sends a message to the community that we're doing things the way we should, based on someone else's assessment, so that's good. Let's see, our banquet we had last Friday evening, if you were able to make it, thank you for being there, and I know it was really short notice, so I understand that. We had a good turnout. The recipients of the various awards, Office of the Year, things of this nature, we're going to be pushing those out on social media individually, one at a time. Instead of having one big post with a few people there, we'll just stretch it out and start getting those out and working with Allison to get that done. Turned out well, and we also we ordered some anniversary badges to celebrate the city's centennial, and those come in the day of the banquet, so we pass those out. And I'll be wearing those, you'll see them on the uniforms through December 31st of this year to celebrate and recognize the city's 150th. And they actually turned out really well.
Yeah, they did.
Firearms safety badge. Ding, ding. And also, the challenge coins, I give them to a couple of you. Also, those things come in Friday morning also. So we were able to pass those out at the, give each one of the officers one initially, and then they'll be used to recognize significant achievements, or maybe if we give a citizen some type of award, we'll give them for that. I just want to give them to all of our elected officials. I gave the very first one to Mayor Wood, so that was kind of interesting, I thought. He was there, and that was good. So it won't get you out of any tickets, but anyway. That's all that I have, unless you guys have any questions for me.
I've just got a funny little story that kind of involves both departments here. And I was kind of chuckling that maybe we could save ourselves a lot of money by putting fire extinguishers in all the police Riggs, because I was sitting in my office about 2 weeks ago, and Officer Fox, who I didn't know who it was, went zinging by my house very fast, caught my eye. And I just thought, wow, he's after someone. Finally, they're getting speeders on my street. And then pretty soon he comes racing back up and slams on the brakes in front of my house and runs into my neighbor's backyard. And I thought, he's chasing a bad guy. I want to get in on some of this stuff. So I drop my stuff and I run into the backyard and I poke my head over the fence, and he's putting a fire out in my neighbor's backyard with a garden hose. And they had built a new raised planter and put some hot compost in it, and it spontaneously combusted and flames were that high. Shocking. So anyway, I thought it was kind of funny that and interestingly enough, the call didn't even go through 911, as I understand it. A neighbor behind us was a police officer, had his personal number and texted him. And then about 10 minutes later, the fire department shows up and kind of mopped it all up and made it right.
Second responders.
Second responders. Anyway, I appreciate both of you.
I remember we had, years ago, we had a report of a vehicle fire on Uglo over near Miller. And Marty Collingham was here at the time, and he just happened to be right there when the call came in. And by the time the rest of us got there and the fire department showed up, Marty's standing there with a garden hose, just hosing down the hood, you know. But anyway, good.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, folks.
Just to follow that up, to let the fire department off the hook a little bit, if we supplied as many vehicles to the fire department, I'm sure they would be there also sooner.
If our vehicles were our office,
Yes, you might be there.
but they're kind of big, expensive.
But I did learn at the awards ceremony, no, we'll do that afterwards.
Well, in all honesty, I think Larry makes a really good point. It surprises me that the police vehicles don't have fire extinguisher. That's, oh, they do?
Oh, he
Okay,
might have. He
good.
might. I was just joking.
In all fairness, they do use them and they receive training on them, and it's a good partnership that we have because they are out and about
Oh,
and
good.
can be somewhere within seconds.
Good.
So, and we happily have their fire extinguishers serviced to it.
Do you really?
Yes.
Good for you.
Hey,
Good.
we're really
Their team.
honest, we're public safety, right?
Yeah, you are.
We're one team, essentially. We just drive cooler vehicles.
Yeah, but theirs are faster.
Why do you think we went to White? We want to be like them.
See? Aw.
It's a typical sibling relationship.
Does anybody else have anything for the good of the order? I just want to end with a last thought. We enjoy the upcoming holiday, you know, we get good weather, we get to spend time with our family and friends, and we get a much-needed break from our work. But we know that this holiday comes with a big risk. There are a lot of DUIs, there are open container vehicles with open containers, there's reckless driving. There are more vehicles that are out in traffic or within our community. The added risk of fireworks and everything that happens there. There's a lot of lost and anxious pets when there's fireworks around. Sometimes fireworks get confused with shots fired or vice versa. So you have to keep in mind that the police department gets those calls. We don't know if it's shot fires or fireworks, so it adds added pressure. And there are more people out on the street. So keep in mind that it comes with an added risk, the upcoming holiday. And it is my hope that we enjoy the holiday in a safe manner.